was the British had stacked up barrels of sugar. Remember, they were on sugar plantations. They had stacked up barrels of sugar to protect themselves from this American cannon fire. And these American cannonballs were hitting these British fortifications and hitting these sugar barrels, and was blowing sugar in all directions. Okay? Now, what was the problem with that? Anybody want to guess?
It was getting all over everything, causing like jams.
So this sugar was getting all over these big naval guns, which are hot. And what's the sugar doing? Melting. And it's gumming up the mechanisms in these cannons, and they're not able to fire. Believe that or not, it's true. So when the American cannonballs hit these British fortifications, sugar's blown in all directions. The sugar melts and ends up in the breaches and firing holes of these cannons, gumming up the cannons, resulting in the British stoppage. Well, because the first two assaults didn't work, what does Pakenham decide to do on the third assault?
Just straight charge.
Direct march at the American fortification. Now you picture this, on January 8th of 1815, here are Jackson's men, 4,000 max, watching in fear as 10,000 British soldiers march towards their fortification. 4,000 to 10,000. Well, Pakenham had asked his men to march towards the fortification, but they were not to continue their attack until what had happened. He sent men ahead to do what?
Draw the fire.
Well, but Jackson's going to hold fire.
Fall into the hole.
Well, not, to keep from falling in the hole, what are these British soldiers going to put in the moat? How would you get up above something? Ladders. So he orders these British soldiers to go ahead as he's marching these 10,000 towards the fortification. He has ordered selected British soldiers to take ladders and get them in the moats, so when they get to the fortification they can get over the wall. And he said to his other soldiers, "I will fire a Congreve rocket when I'm ready for you to advance upon the fort." Once the ladders get in place, he would fire a Congreve rocket. That would be the signal to his men to march as quickly as they can upon the fortification. So picture that in your mind. On January 8th, 1815, Jackson's men watch in fear as British soldiers, numbered in the thousands, march towards their fortification. Sir Edward Pakenham has ordered his men to continue their march towards the American fortification, but they are not to attack the fortification until the ladders were put into place in the moat, and the signal to attack would be the firing of a Congreve rocket. Okay? Well, as Jackson watches the British come into range, he orders his men to fire their cannons. But they're not going to have cannonballs in them. What are they going to have in them? No? Grape shot, which is what?
It's like a shotgun.
It's just anything metal. Doorknobs.
Nails.
What's that? Nails, pieces of metal. This is what they're putting in these cannons now. It's called grape shot. And they're basically not firing cannonballs. As Alex said, who might be the MVP today, they're shooting basically like a shotgun. Okay? They're shooting like a shotgun. And this shrapnel that they're firing at these oncoming redcoats causes major havoc as each blast kills or wounds several hundred British soldiers. Why? Because it's shooting like a shotgun. And it becomes a little crazy because Pakenham's got his men marching up to put the ladders in. He's got his men on a slow march waiting for the Congreve rocket signal. And as soon as that main body of men get into range, Jackson starts shooting grape shot or shrapnel out of these cannons, taking out hundreds of men at a shot, okay? Hundreds of men at a shot. Well, finally, Pakenham doesn't really know what's going on. The smoke is very thick from what? The grape shots and the cannon fire. He really can't see the American fortification very well. He thought the ladders were in place, so he gave the order for the rocket to be fired. Congreve rocket. So because the smoke was so thick, Pakenham could not see the American fortification very well. He thought the ladders were in place, and he gives the order for the Congreve rocket to be fired. And now the British troops go from march mode to what? Attack mode. Now, here are Jackson's men behind the parapet fortification. And he orders his men to hold their fire until the last minute. Okay? As much as they want to shoot, he tells them to wait. And when they fire, they're shooting at these redcoats at point blank range as they're struggling to cross what? The moat. This is going to be a kind of a turkey shoot. Okay? In less than an hour, the British ranks break off and the men are running for their lives. In less than an hour, British ranks break off and the men are running for their lives. Tomorrow I will tell you how it ends and what happens to Sir Edward Pakenham as they are retreating. Once we get done with that, we will finish up with the Treaty of Ghent and a turning point in American history. So we will finish the lecture tomorrow. Okay? All right, we'll see you all tomorrow except for those that are leaving. If you're not going to be here, get these notes because we'll have a review Wednesday, and I certainly will not give you tests the day we get back from Thanksgiving vacation, but we'll have one the day after that. Okay? So go from there. That's what we're into today. Betcha.